Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live stream. I'm Jessica Simeon Lofton, and I'm back. I have not done a live in about a month, maybe longer, and it's been even longer since I've been on social media. So I hope y'all miss me. I miss y'all. I just don't miss social media. So I'm glad to be here. Speaking of social media, I just really took a break to live life. I took a break to live life, to dive deep into some, just things that personally interest me, from uh, my spiritual journey to just getting back into reading, my hobbies, nurturing my mental health. I've just been doing me. I've been doing me, and I really have been enjoying it. But I have also missed interacting with everyone um, in the form of a live video. So I'm back. I'm back, and I hope y'all are happy to be watching. Before I really get into it, I want to invite you to become a patron. You can support content like this. What I'll be talking about today, content related to Black issues, Black politics, Black life, Black culture, spirituality, all of that. If you want to support content like this, you want to help me make more of it, please consider becoming a patron, and you will be getting access to exclusive content not published anywhere else. And also with Patreon, what I'm trying to do is build a community. So what I realize is that I ain't everybody cup of tea, and I'm fine with it. But the problem is I have been blogging for so long that people are following me from back in the days when I used to do like music and entertainment related stuff. I am clearly on a different path, although we may still be connected. So I needed to build a space, an area, a sector of the internet that would kind of speak to where I'm at now. So if you, again, are interested in that and you want to support me making more of that content, you can become a patron. So, how I got into today's topics, or how I came to choose these, I'm going to try my best to be brief. I tend to talk a long time, but I'm going to try my best to chill out on it and just keep it under a certain length of time. But I just thought it would be good to kind of talk about the mental health impacts of everything that's going on in the world for Black people. So not only do we have a pandemic, a lot of people are going through economic hardships. The pandemic itself takes a toll on your mental health. But then when you add on the fact that you're Black in America, and we're seeing these police killings happen, we're seeing some instances where the smallest amount of justice was served. We're seeing other incidents where it's not. I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about that, especially because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So now is the time to be talking about mental health, to really feel, well, I ain't gonna say feel, but now is a good time to be open about it and help someone who may not understand it. You can also support those who have already shared with you that they struggle from mental health related issues. Now is just a good time to just be honest about where we are mentally. I don't think many of us are honest. Mentally, a lot of people are not doing well, but that because of the stigma, because people don't really believe you, or just is not really looked as a good thing. There's a lot of stigma, stereotypes, all of that comes with talking about mental health that keeps people from speaking up about it. So now is the time. If you're suffering, speak up and get some help. I will put some resources in the comment section once we're done. I will also put them on Patreon. And if you don't suffer from any mental health issues, but you know someone who is, be that support for them. So that's how I came to that. But I also wanted to discuss, because I have not, and it's really been like irking me, this whole Asian movement. Not the movement has irked me. The fact that they experienced hate for a year and gotten money and executive action, and Black people have been experiencing it for hundreds of years, and we have nothing. That has been irking me, and I've been really wanting to talk about it. So I'm going to go into that. And I also know a lot of people don't really understand what is going on with it. And that leads me to the last topic: what's next for Black America? What does all of this mean? We're talking about a pandemic. We're talking about mental health and police killings. We're talking about other groups getting money that should have been coming to us, getting legislation that should have been coming to us. We have nothing. Nothing. Y'all know I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. I used to be before I found out who he was. And he ain't done nothing. And Black people who voted for him, overwhelmingly, Black people are really the reason he's in office. And he has not done a thing for the Black community. And people are getting, now people are talking about it. What the smarter thing would have been to not vote him in and to send a message politically. But that didn't happen. and now we're here. And people have been slow to talk about it, but you see more people talking about it now. So of course I wanted to chime in. And this that on that. I forgot to share my actual Patreon page. So before I go into talking about our sponsors, I just want to share the Patreon here. You can become a member for as little as $3 a month. All of the memberships have specific benefits. So if this is something that you like to do, check it out. The link, I believe, is in the description of the video, but that would help me make more content and make it jazzy and make it really cool and sophisticated like it needs to be, because these are very important topics and I have a lot of ideas. So I'm ready to really kick those things off. So before I get into it, now that you know what we're going to be talking about and why, I want to go ahead and share a video or share a little coupon discount code from our sponsor. And the sponsor is actually my business that I co-own with my husband. We own Lofton & Co. And we hand make or handcraft, I prefer to say, candles, bath and body products, all of that. And for the entire month of May, those of you who watch my stream have access to the discount code Jessica Live for 10% off of all of the products. So I'll just give you a little tour. I have to go in and update the inventory because we have some new products coming for the summer, and we also have new fragrances and just more availability of our products. So here you can check it out here, and again, use that discount code for 10% off. And it's available for the May 31st, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. It will become inactive. And so we can get into the show. My husband is FaceTiming me and he probably not going to stop till I answer. But I'm on a live stream and I cannot FaceTime. While I'm responding to him, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you are not already subscribed, follow me. I don't do a lot of social media these days. I don't anticipate doing a lot, honestly. So, I'll be there when I'm there. But you can follow me if you want. But do subscribe because I'm going to primarily be on YouTube with the live stream. So let's get into it. I saw this article again. I mentioned I want to talk about mental health this month. I wanted to incorporate it in my content some kind of way. And I felt like talking about it under the lens of Black people seeing police killings on the internet, on the mainstream media news outlets, how that impacts our mental health. So this article is by The New Scientist. And it's a pretty recent article. It's from April 19th of this year. And it just talks about how these police killings actually do harm our mental health. So when people are saying that it is affecting them, they're telling the truth, especially if they're Black. So I just want to touch on a couple points from the article. It reads, Black people are more likely than white people to have their mental health affected by strings of highly publicized U.S. police killings of Black people, according to the first nationwide scientific assessment of these media reports. So there is an organization. It is the, let me find the actual name of it here. It's somewhere here on this article, this separate article. Anyway, it's a official agency. Our pnas.org is the website for it. When I get the name, I'll make sure I add it. But this agency has been doing a lot of studies in this area of police killing, racism, and how it affects Black people mentally. Also, how at risk Black people are of actually being killed by the police. And so a team combined a database of these police killings, and they identified 47 high profile incidents that occurred between 2013 and 2017. They also included the legal decisions that happened as a result. So it includes the killing of Michael Brown. I believe that Philando Castile's killing is included in this. And they also looked at 2 convicted murderers who had links to white supremacy for a total of 49 events. And what they did was they had people take a survey about how they were feeling when these things were going on. And they found that Black people reported more poor mental health days during the month that they saw these incidents unfold. And these mental health issues were related to stress, other things like that. And white people, their mental health was not affected based on these events. And it went even further. And I thought this point was very interesting, that the legal decisions on whether or not to convict the officers involved in killing was really what impacted mental health the most. So, we've seen the killing, we've seen the protesting and everything that happened as a result. But the thing that really affected people was whether or not the officer was convicted. And I think that that's important, because what honestly, if we can just be real about it, and people get in their feelings about using certain terminology, but you have to call a thing. To see someone Black being killed by police, you see people standing around, people are filming the video or whatever. Nobody can do anything to prevent it, right? That was one of the main takeaways from the Derek Chauvin trial in the murder of George Floyd, that these protesters, they were filming it and they felt helpless, like it was nothing that they could do. So if you think about that atmosphere that's going on, it's nothing you can do. It's happening. You can't stop it. You can't stop the person that's doing it. That resembles a modern day lynching. That's exactly what lynchings were like. And I'll be talking more about lynchings and how lynchings are still happening, and we still have no legislation for that. I'll be talking about that next. But you have to, it's reasonable to understand and believe that over time that's going to mess with you. And I experienced this myself not too long ago. My husband was out and he was on his way home, and he texted me and he was like, hey, I'm on my way home. I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's like 10 minutes away. Well, almost an hour had passed and he was not home. And I was calling him and he didn't answer. And I had a panic attack. I had a real life panic attack, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, crime is one thing. Like, I live in a city, people have been shooting on the highways lately. So, I'm thinking about that. Then I'm like, okay, it's late. He's Black. He has dreadlocks. He's tall. It's dark outside. Like, could he have, been at the wrong place at the wrong time? Was it the police? Did he get pulled over? I'm just thinking all of these things. And I had a panic attack and I was just in tears, and I was calling him. Turn out he ran back up and he left his phone in the car. And it was nothing, but I went through a whole stretch of emotions just in that short time period of not hearing back from him. And he was alive. I got a call from him. So think about the people who family member never came back, who their family member will never come back, and they know it because they saw it. It takes on a whole different meaning. So I just think that we need to be taking care of ourselves mentally, because what happens is, and this is kind of, some people will disagree with me on this, but the natural effect is that you pull away, that you are like, I'm not watching it. I don't want to see it. I know how this go. I don't want nothing to do with it. And that's a honest feeling. You have a right to feel like that. I feel like that. I've told the George Floyd story a billion times about how I avoided or tried to avoid seeing his killing. And I happened to be at my mom's house and she was watching the news and they were playing it right as I was walking in, and it was there and I couldn't avoid it anymore. Like, it's real. So we tend to want to draw back. But the danger of that is that these things get lost in the sauce of everything else that's going on. And you can say that about Andrew Brown Jr. People are not really talking about that incident like they were at one point. Then we have Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old. I really, really, really want to talk more about that, and I will if I have the time to just get everything together. People are not talking about that anymore, as if folks have just accepted that, oh, that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. I just can't do it to myself. I don't want to hear it anymore. And so our issues get pushed further back and the awareness dies out, or the conversation around it dies out. The next big story comes, and then where are we? So it's a cycle that continuously repeats itself. So I'm wondering, and if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comment section. I'm just wondering, what do we do about this? Is there a way for us to, or is there a system? Is there a process for us to be able to take care of ourselves mentally, especially those who don't have access to healthcare services or regular healthcare services or healthcare services such as mental health? Because we can't check out. We have to keep pushing on, pressing on, and fighting for change. But how do we balance it with our mental health? I'm hoping that somebody can give some insight on that. And maybe that's something I'll explore with other people and I'll bring them on or something. I don't know. But I just really, really wanted to talk about that. And I want to share this fact too from this other article by the same organization. This article looks at the risk of people being killed by police in the U.S. based on their race, sex, and ethnicity. And so what it found, right here is that, of course, white people face the lowest risk of death from any other group. But the risk is highest for Black men who at current levels of risk. So as I speak, current levels of risk are about a 1 in 1,000 chance of being killed by police over their lifespan. The risk peaks between the ages of 20 and 35 for all groups. For young men of color, police use of force is among the leading causes of death. Y'all, that is serious. That is really, really serious. Do y'all see that? It's this area right here. And I will have this PDF available in Patreon. But do you see that this is a very serious issue? And a lot of people like to, go on the media and say, these are just highly publicized things. White people get killed by police too. But look at, you just saw the numbers. It's not the same. I don't care what mainstream media puts out the stories. I don't care what they're saying and what people try to say to justify what happens. You're looking at the data right here. The risk is highest for Black men. Currently, Black men face 1 in 1,000 of a chance of being killed by police over their lifespan. That means if you in a room, if you at a concert with 1,000 Black men, one of them gonna get killed by the police, and it's gonna be highly publicized. For young men of color, this is among one of the leading causes of death. This is very important. So it's a real thing. And what happens when we kind of pull away or we get tired of talking about it, we get tired of seeing it on the news, guess what? Nobody cares. If we as a community don't care enough to keep it at the top of the list of issues, then why would another group care? So it's something there, and I don't know what it is, and it's part of my question about what's next. I'm going to go ahead and go into this next portion of the stream where I want to talk about the Asian community, because you see in my title, Asians secured the bag. They secured it in a major way. And I want to just be out front and say that this movement is really complex for me. You know, like I did my review on Judas and the Black Messiah, and I spoke on the Sip My Thoughts podcast with Tyler Carter, and we kind of talked about, other colored groups and how I felt about it. And this is just something that's very complex, and I don't have the time in this stream to just really go into why it's so complex. I will just say that I don't support hate toward any group, toward any human being. But I do believe to some degree that the Asian community got a check, meaning money. They got legislation that was meant for Black people, that should have gone to Black people. And you think about their whole movement and the Asian hate because of COVID. COVID has been around for a little over a year, right? So they've been experiencing this epidemic of hate for a little over a year, right? Well, if you look at Black people, we have been oppressed for over 400 years. We were actually enslaved. Our community was enslaved in America. Where's our money? Where's our memorandum? Where is that stuff? So I want to share or go through Joe Biden's executive actions for Asians and kind of talk about, again, what this means for Black people and why all this stuff is like the issue of the moment. And I'm leading up to like my rant. If you're wondering where I'm sorry. If you're wondering where I'm going with this, I'm leading up to my rant about our community, our people. And it's going to be a conversation from me to other Black folks. I'm leading up to that. So let's go through these executive actions. So firstly, there was a memorandum condemning this racism. Now, where is the memorandum from Joe Biden for the police killings? Did we get one? Let's see. I'm actually going to have to look that up. I'll look it up at the end. But I don't think we got a memorandum from him on the police killings. I think actually what happened is that he disbanded something Trump had put together, like involving like history in schools, that it was nothing on this level. So this is number one, that, talking about Asians in the pandemic and how, they've actually helped our country and they should not be facing this hatred. So let's go to the next thing. He actually did more than that. And so that more was giving them money. Before I go into, look at this quote. Too many Asian Americans have been walking up and down the streets. This is from Joe Biden, and waking up each morning the past year, feeling their safety and safety of their loved ones are at stake. What did we just talk about for Black people and mental health? We have a study here that said that our health is impacted by these police killings, but we have nothing. So let's go on back to the fact sheet. They've been attacked, blamed, scapegoated, and harassed. They've been verbally assaulted, physically assaulted, killed. The hate and violence hiding in plain sight is often met with silence. That's true throughout our history, but that has to change because our silence is complicity. President Joe Biden is actually being complicit in the silence of what's going on in our community. His silence is not briefly mentioning. He wouldn't even go so far as to speak on if Chauvin had not been found guilty. He didn't even want to touch on it. Do y'all remember when they asked his wife and they talked about how they were feeling as they were watching? He didn't even want to speak on that, but he went out and did this. Okay, so continuing on, I'm not going to read through it all. I will have the link in Patreon, and you can find it on the White House's website. But look at this. So there's funding here for Asian American Pacific Islander survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. So the Department of Health and Human Services is allocating $49.5 million from the American Rescue Plan to a new grant program for community-based, culturally specific services and programs for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault who face additional barriers to services and safety, such as language access barriers. That's $49.5 million. So they also established a COVID-19 equity task force across agency to address the anti-Asian violence and all these other things that go under that. A virtual bookshelf of federally funded projects that explore and celebrate Asian Americans' contributions to the United States. Funding critical research to prevent and address bias and xenophobia against Asian American communities. Okay, so the National Science Foundation is supporting more than 100 grants across the country, totaling more than $33 million of investment. Okay. That's it. For their year, they got 49.5, what was it? Was it million plus the grants. You can go even further and see where Native American communities, they ain't even been loud about nothing right now. But they got $4 billion from the American Rescue Plan to combat COVID in their areas. Now, if you look at this chart, Indigenous and Black people have experienced the highest death tolls from this virus, yet we have nothing specifically for our group. Do y'all see that? Do you care? What does that mean to you? How does that make you feel? People would say, because I didn't vote, or people like me who did not vote for Joe Biden, there are a lot of us, believe it or not. People like me, we can't say nothing because we didn't vote. But that's actually not true. Who do that? They never tell white people those kind of things. They never say you can't say anything because you didn't vote. They never say that to us. And I did vote. I did not vote for Joe Biden, though. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I wrote myself in because I would damn sure wasn't voting for Kamala. Period. Like neither one of them. But I did vote. But my point is, whether I voted for a person or not, I have a right as an American citizen to expect certain things. That's what the government does. So whether or not I voted for him, if my community is experiencing one of the highest death tolls from the current pandemic, then we definitely should have some funding, just like the Asian community and the Native community. That's not like, that's minimum when you stack up everything else. That's the minimum. And we didn't get that. And I even want to go even further and talk about how undocumented workers got stimulus payments of $15,600. Think about that. Undocumented immigrants, meaning people who broke American law. They're not citizens. And they got $15,600, a one-time payment. because they lost work during the pandemic and they broke the law. Do you see this? But what did Black people get? What have we gotten? Black people got a study about reparations and whether or not we deserve them. Do y'all see the play? We get a study to see if we should get reparations despite all of the evidence that everybody knows about what our community has faced. So it's really a slap in the face to everyone who voted for Joe Biden, to be honest. If you voted for him, you should be pissed off with him, especially if you're Black. And you should be demanding that he do something. And even if you didn't vote for him, you are a citizen and you should be demanding that something be done. And you have to question the people who should be doing the demanding because they're in the positions, but we'll get there. Before I go into that, what's next in my little rant part of the broadcast, I want to just promote the book club that is happening. So I don't know if you all know it or not, but I have a book club called the Unlearning Anti-Blackness Book Club. Now, with this book club, my goal is to help people who are not aware of the history, who don't know the history, learn the history. I will never forget. My former pastor told me I can't change the history. I will never forget that in my life, hearing that. Because it was meant to tell me to chill and just focus on, other things, moving forward, unity and things like that. But what I heard was that it didn't matter. And that just because it's history, that means it's in the past, when that couldn't be further from the truth. Now, if that's what he meant, I don't know. But that's what I heard. I will never, ever forget being told that I cannot change the history. But what I can change is the history from happening again. And you won't know whether or not it's happening again if you don't know the history. So my Unlearning Anti-Blackness book club will be reading The Color of Compromise by Jemar Tisby, and it goes through the history of the American church and the church's complicity in racism. And I cannot wait to get into this topic because this is something that we definitely should be talking about, that we are not talking about at all. And it affects us. And believe it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, that is partly why we're still oppressed, because of our tie to the church and not God, our tie to this church, this establishment that has historically oppressed us. And we'll be talking about it in the book club. I actually started a separate channel for the book club for the same reasons that I started the Patreon, because I'm trying to get my community in the right places and put you or get you right where you need to be for certain discussions. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that everyone has their own place. If you are not into this, then you ain't got to see it. But if you are, go ahead and subscribe to that channel. I will put that in the description box. But I just wanted to publicize that we will be starting our reading of this book very, very soon. But now I want to talk about what's next for Black America. So let me get my screen right here. You heard, okay, we've gone through all this. You see what we're up against. You see what, and does it make you feel any kind of way? Does it make you feel hopeless? Do you feel hopeful? How do you feel about it? Because for me, it makes me really think about what I'm spending my time doing. And this is kind of where I pull back from social media, because I feel like if we know all this stuff that's going on, we know I'm 33. I am old enough to be able to see what's going on without anybody telling me. So those of us who can see it without anybody telling us, and then we're actually doing the work and looking into it, we understand how timely this issue is. Like, this is the issue of the moment. And if you are not like on that, I kind of like don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I find myself being very like put off by social media right now, put off by some of the things that's promoted. When it's like our community is literally like not only destroyed, but like we may be in a period where it's going to be very difficult for us to recover. And I'm a mother. I have two sons. So I'm thinking about if we let this stuff continue on our watch, what does that mean for my sons? And it's not going to be good enough that I just said, oh, well, can't change the history. It is what it is. I just had to press forward. That's not good enough for them because we don't know what this is going to look like 10 years from now. We're seeing what it looks like now, and it ain't good. But I'm just wondering why we're not engaged more. Like why we spend our time talking about celebrities who would never trade places with us, who are not, they don't give a fuck about Black issues because they don't consider themselves at risk for that. They'll say it, but you cannot pay attention to what people say. You have to pay attention to what people do. And these entertainers, they'll throw some money at something, but they're not really working to flip this system upside down, and they have the money to do it. So people like me who are wanting to do programs and wanting to do things that could actually change our community, we're not getting the funding, we're not getting the attention. We're actually outcast or treated like we're crazy because we're sounding the alarm on what's going on in our community, and we don't want it to be that way. We don't want our community to be destroyed. Yet we're not the ones who get the attention. We're not the ones who get elevated. The stupidity gets elevated. The gender stuff, the Kevin Samuels crap gets elevated. The T.I. and Tiny stuff gets elevated. That stuff gets elevated, not the people that's actually trying to do something. So I just personally, like, I'm just in a place in my life where I don't want to deal with you if you own that mess, because I'm thinking about my boys and I can't be at the end of my life or they're adults and they don't have nothing and all the Black people around them don't have nothing because we don't actually have any money. Don't let the entertainers and stuff fool you. How many years do these lists come out and they ain't on them? How many do you see on those lists and what are they doing? If you look at the data for Black wealth, we don't have any. And there's a video by attorney Antonio Moore. He goes by Tone Talks on YouTube. He talks about how outside of the family car, Black people don't have nothing, no wealth. I'm gonna find that video and I'm gonna put it in the Patreon, and I'll share a link to it in the description box as well. But we've abandoned our community on all sides, at all levels, and to a degree, most of us are guilty, including myself, because even I spent a lot of my time and my resources chasing a bag or chasing my own dreams, not looking at what's happening around me and even feeling connected to it. And so now I feel connected to it, and I'm like, oh shit, I've been, kind of messing up myself. We should be using our talents and our skills and our money to get our community out of this place, because the government's not going to do it. If you watch any of this stream, you will see they're not going to do it. They're not. The Asians got their money. White people don't need to make demands like that, so we ain't talking about them. Asians got their money. Native Americans got their money. Hispanics are in the process of getting their money, and yet we get a study, even though everything's documented and laid out on how it affects us. And instead of talking about that, we talking about Kevin Samuels, and we talking about all this other, like, I ain't even on social media anymore, so I don't know what people talking about now, but I know it ain't this. But we, and also we have to look at our political ignorance. And when I say political ignorance, not knowing what certain things mean, but our ignorance in that we continue to do things that don't serve us. If you think about, you can even just say, like, the Democratic Party. Black people, most Black people are Democrats. Why? If Democrats haven't gotten anything done for us substantially, why are we still Democrats? That type of political ignorance. Or why do we allow people like Al Sharpton to show up? Why do we support him? He hasn't done anything. Why do we support Obama when he was against reparations and knew what that meant as a Black man for him to be against it? That is going to come back later when we're actually trying to get in and trying to get a game like now. Well, Mitch McConnell is going to say, oh, well, Obama doesn't support them. So I don't. That's y'all fade. That's y'all forever president. He don't support it, so why should I? Really looking at that stuff. Why are we still supporting these people? Even like the Congressional Black Caucus, what are they doing? Look at Kamala Harris said that America's not a racist country, but then went and said, well, we acknowledge that. Like, look at these people that y'all are standing for. I mean, like the AKAs, do y'all feel stupid at all? She ain't wear a pearl. She ain't did a ski weed. She ain't did nothing. But y'all was wearing Converse to the polls for her. She hasn't spoken out on anything. She hasn't pushed anything. She has the power. She's the vice president. Because now the excuse will be, oh, this her position is just support. Like we just continue to make excuses and make excuses because we don't want to deal with the facts, but that's the facts. And even like people in the media, Black people in the media, like folks who actually watch Roland Martin. Why? Like, have you seen the things that he said and done repeatedly? Yet we still support these people. Why? It's ignorance. And I just want to really drive home the point that if we don't get this now, our children will not have the life that they can have or the life that they deserve as a whole. I'm not talking about just my children. I'm not talking about your children. I'm talking about Black children as a whole. And I feel like we use God a lot as a crutch. We're doing the entire opposite of what we should be doing as very spiritual people. We're wasting time trying to press each other, trying to get on this person about what they doing wrong and that person, and we talking about what they doing and what they ain't doing, and we off code. We don't really understand what the gift of life means. That is, when we're here, we got an opportunity to make a difference. We're not thinking about that. We want to be entertained all the time. We want to laugh and joke and take a break from the day all the time, when we don't realize that the reason that we feel like that every single day is because of the shit that has happened to us over the years. You've seen the data. Our mental health is impacted by police killings. So we want to relax. It's a direct result of that. When we could be, instead of relaxing, when we do feel good, trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to make that issue the top of mind? What can we do to get something moving on this? No, we want to be entertained. We want to chase clout and popularity. We want to make friends and have all these followers, but we ain't talking about shit that actually means something. And excuse me, my husband told me to be myself. So normally I would not curse, but I'm being myself. I'm just going to be myself. I got to deliver it like it's me. I'm not trying to please anybody or trying to deliver it right for anybody. I'm just about being honest and being real. And that's how I feel right now. And then we're worshiping money. We're worshiping, and we need the money. But look at where the money's going. The issue is not that Black people don't have money to spend. We don't have any wealth. We're not investing it as a whole. Some people don't have it to invest. But what I mean is, when we get this money, we try to preserve ourselves, and we're not thinking about the group. And like, you can look at the Talented 10, Du Bois, and how HBCUs were initially, and how, it was for the lighter skinned blacks, and the darker skinned blacks were told to get trades and things like that. It's always about self and what can I do to get me and mine straight. It's never like, what can I do to get me and mine straight so we can get the community straight. We forget after we get straight, you know? So I just feel like people like me, I have a media education. I'm a professional in the media. I consult for social media, video broadcasting, public relations, doing things like this. I consider myself to be I am a content creator, but I am also a media professional, in addition to having a business with my husband. But I feel like it needs to be very clear, what we've done wrong as a group. Like, I feel like people like me, if you're black and you create content, we need to be talking about where we're going wrong so that we can fix it. That means that we got to put our egos aside. That means that we got to put our individual opinions aside about people and methods, and just agree on the fact that we're in a bad position and it's going to take us all to get us out. If we could just start there, then we need to unlearn all this stuff that we've been taught that is not either relevant or that it comes from a white supremacist way of thinking. And that's from our history to even what we think about ourselves, what we think about how we look, what we think about marrying others of our race, what we think about some of our leaders. We have to unlearn all that and start completely over. We have to undo our own anti-blackness. That's the only way this is going to work. And I think from there, we can build on the other things. But that would be my solution. That would be what I would do. And so that's why I've just decided to give my content some purpose and meaning that ain't about me. Like, who cares about what outfit I got on today or what the one I'm gonna wear tomorrow? Like, who cares? Black people are dying and nobody wants to do anything about it who can do something about it. And it makes me sad and it makes me afraid for my kids. And that's the honest truth. We're talking about being honest. We're talking about mental health. That is the honest truth. So I'm done, y'all. Rant's over. Thank y'all for watching. I know this is my first stream in months. I didn't really have anybody checking in on Facebook, maybe 4 people at the most. But I am going to build it up. I will not let that discourage me. I'm going to continue to come on and do these topics. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching the replay, make sure you subscribe. Meet me in the comment section so we can talk about this, and maybe give me some ideas going forward on some other things that I can talk about. Do not forget that I am on Patreon. If you want exclusive content, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff related to the church in the coming months. So if you want to be a part of that, go ahead and get plugged in on Patreon. And also don't forget that I have a discount code for Lofton & Co., which is a business owned by myself and my husband. And we handcraft candles, body products. We got a lot of different things going on there and some new things. But throughout the entire month, you get 10% off if you use my code that is tickering on the bottom. It's called Jessica Live. Don't worry about the caps. It should work whether it's all caps or not. But that's a thank you from me to you for watching this video. So please go ahead and subscribe. Again, thank y'all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.